All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for another chart stream. It's been a while. Okay, I know you saw me yesterday, but it has been a while. All right, in terms of charts, so I'm glad to be back. I just realized I'm not in the center of my camera. There we go. Hopefully you're all doing well. Hopefully the markets have have given you fortune, if you will. Obviously, as of late anyway, I can imagine it might not have. Obviously, you can see 24-hour rect, $1.08 billion. So some people aren't happy. A lot of people aren't happy. In terms of the last you heard of me, in terms of the stream, I don't know exactly what I was saying. I think we're going to come up from the stream, or last stream, what I was saying, we're going to come up from what I said from the stream. Well, not, you know what I mean. So we've been doing that, talking to Telegram about basically in the rough area we're in right now, kind of seeing a bit of resistance there. And I was drawing on a different chart. I do have my normal chart I normally look at on the stream here anyway, so we'll be looking at that in a second. But other than that, I think it was majoritively just like we'll go up again, but we're going to come down as a whole. So that is, I think, the gist of what I've been saying, whether it be on Telegram or in the actual stream. Actually, I should probably say hello to everyone. Hello, obviously, people who are here. It's saying I have nobody in the stream. It says I have 0 people in the YouTube stream, so maybe I'm talking to the void. However, I can see people saying hello. Obviously, Mags, Kishan, Hidden Agendas, Mike is also here as well, and KB. Even to all of you, thank you for being here. And I am also on Square, and I can actually see the Square chat. Okay, this is absolutely revolutionary here. Let me have a little look on the Square if it loads. Good evening to all of you. Mr. AK, good evening to you as well. Angu, I'll say good evening to you as well. Thank you all of you for being here. Morale. So I'm actually on two places. I can't believe it. It's actually working. So I've given my diligence of hellos. I will go on to what we have now. So I don't really have like Twitter links or anything of the sort. I just kind of have like, you know, liquidation data, prices, and then I do want to look at historical returns month by month, because that's something people will be looking at, and I think it's interesting to talk about that. Obviously monthly close, so we'll have a little topic on that, if you will, and then obviously we can get onto the charts. So start my timer. Like I said, $1.08 billion liquidated, so, you know, pretty healthy. 983 million of long. Everyone's kind of been liquidated on the long side of things here. Obviously, you can kind of, you know, expect that if you can consider what we've done today. Obviously, jumping to percentage change, you can see Bitcoin 3.88% down 24 hour. Obviously, I was not negative. Obviously, on stream positive. Penelope. What's the opposite of negative Nancy is what I want to know. Obviously coming to the main area above us, a bit of a negative Nancy, if you will, and obviously as we can see, pretty good there on that regard. As you can see, 3.9% down ish on the 24 hour, 3.88, 3.297 day. Again, pretty much across the board going down as a whole, and again, pretty healthy down as well. It's been pretty rapid, which is interesting to see. 106,498 right now for Bitcoin. So obviously we were talking when it was a lot higher than where we are right now. Pretty low, considering the week. Again, 3.17% down 7 day. Clearly pretty low over the week, but comparative to what we talked about and the time it's taken to get to not where we are from where we were to 106.5. It's been pretty crazy. So we do have a lot to talk about. 36944 for Ethereum, 5.6% down 24 hour. Again, a bit more of a move down in comparison to Bitcoin. I haven't actually really looked at. I've mainly just been looking at Bitcoin lately. I haven't really looked at Ethereum or Solana. I don't know what I have drawn on the chart comparative to how we've moved. I'm sure there's something somewhere I've talked about which has the reason for this. Okay, so I'll just say that. Tweaks it, even to you as well. So anyway. Solana anyways, 180, 6.88% down 24 hour and 6% down 7 days. So pretty healthy. Again, pretty healthy across the board down. Let's see what Syrup's doing. I think Syrup's doing all right in terms of, okay, I know we are down 10%. All right, let me breathe. In terms of what we've been saying, okay, we're doing pretty all right in terms of kind of what I thought was going to happen. If we go to monthly, well, I don't really want to go monthly, actually. I can't really go 24 hour, whatever. We basically were talking about us coming up from the support. I talked about that stream, so that's something which it's not like I haven't covered it yet, and from there going up towards what would be the highs. And I don't think we hit it, unfortunately. I don't think we got past the old high. I think we hit resistance. We had the same resistance area we've seen when we first talked about us coming down for Syrup. I think we see the exact same place again, so we will obviously have a look at that. But relative to us coming upwards from our support, we did pretty well on that regard. Other than that, CRO, I suppose, is another one I could look at. $14 or 14 cents. Sorry, I wish $14. I don't know what this is relative to what I said. I can't remember what I said about CRO, but it's probably all right. It's probably what I said anyway. I can't remember what I said, but I'm sure I said something along those lines. So I want to move. This isn't a main. I'm not going to have like a debate with myself in this here. I'm not going to spend 15 minutes talking about this. I just want to, I thought I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, people have pointed this out before, haven't they? Let's have a look at this. Now I think in order to make a pattern, you need to roughly need like 3 occurrences of something to start making it a pattern type of thing. So it's not exactly clockwork for this, but I think you could make a pattern by the fact of a pattern by opposition, if you will, on the sense that the idea is, anyway, in October we have would normally have a positive print in October, a positive candle, and this is of the monthly monthly return, basically the change of the month, or the delta of the month, if you will, and how that month yielded from the start to the finish. Obviously you can see right now, I don't know if this is live data, I don't know let me refresh, I don't know if this is lagging data, I actually don't know, but around 5, nearly 6% down October, across when October, the month candle started versus, and we obviously can go onto it on our chart and actually have a look for ourselves, but the idea is, and again, the idea of us, okay, when is the times of us being negative on October happened? Well, we have this one in 2014, we have 2018, I believe that is, 2018 and 2025. Okay, so in terms of consistency, it's not that, it's not that, in terms of the and this is why I say pattern by opposition, in terms of the pattern being October is a positive, and the times it's not positive, what we have. So, and this is where the cracks got to show for me anyway. And I'm not saying it can't happen again. And I'm not saying that. And I do have to think, the market situations from 2014 to 2018 would be slightly different in the sense that 2018 and onwards, I'd rather go off the the latest time this happened rather than 2014. But the idea is obviously October print's negative and it leads into negativity going forward and is pretty unhealthy. So again, we can't really use 2014 in that regard because again, November was 12.8% up, literally completely recovered the entirety of October. But to be fair, December was 15% down. So over the October to December period, it was down about, let's say, 3%-ish, give or take, maybe a bit more, a bit less. And then obviously I think the thing people are really focusing on is going to be 2018, where it's 3.8% down or negative print for Bitcoin on October or in October in 2018. And then preceding that, we had a 36.5% move downwards during November. Now, more consistent than not, we have positive prints in October, yielding continuation for these periods. And then there's moments where we have, 40% move. I mean, to be fair, 40% move for October in 2021 is pretty crazy. So obviously we had a 7% down there, and then 5%. We printed positive on October here, and then we printed negative. So this is, the consistency of it. And again, you're never going to have a 100% win rate on anything. There's always going to be the times where something doesn't occur. So I mean, more likely, more times than not, when something in October is positive, or in this case, Bitcoin is positive, and in October, year by year, it's normally positive proceeding into at least November. Obviously, the only real case of 2024 being the fact that we printed October, November, but then December was negative. So majority across the board, a October print meaning positivity, give or take, even though 2019, 2021, and 2022 all had positive October prints, and still yielded negativity going forward, and whatnot. But let's just walk with it, okay? So going off of our 50-50 here, we have 2014 negative October, positive November. 2018 negative October, really negative November. So it's kind of a toss-up there, but I think people are really going for the focus on the latest 2018 one. Now, I think what I will say about this is, obviously, October's going to be printed soon, so this is kind of why I'm talking about this, just to see if any sort of intrigue about this. In a sense that, what would I think my opinion would be on this based on what I've said previously? Well, if you have been in any of my streams where I've talked about anything of bigger than the daily time frame, you will know where my prices lie. You will know my 90k areas. You will know my low areas of Bitcoin, and I've been saying, okay, well, I get the idea of time frames. There's only so much time we have to do this until market could change, and we don't do this, that sort of thing. But I've still stuck with it, for the trials and tribulations. That's the thing I try to do, even though I might be wrong. And again, I don't disagree with the idea of pivoting. I think if you can see you've made a mistake, I will. If I see I made a mistake in the chart, I will explicitly say that's actually incorrect, or actually I talked about this when in fact it's actually not. It's actually this. So what I'm saying. But when I have an opinion on a longer time frame like this on the weekly, I'm not just going to throw it away. Oh well, we've gone back up to 124k. I don't care. I'm still sticking with this. I still want 90k. So the idea that I still have this in the books. You know what I mean? I still have this in play. This is the ball still in the court. Okay, we haven't. It's not offside. We've still got it. All right. And that's why I'm kind of leading on to the fact that this, I could see this occurring on the idea that October prints negative, or that October doesn't print positive, and then what could that lead to? Well, as of late, the last time that happened, we did a really negative November, even though obviously 2014 printed positive. So again, it's really how much data you need to go off before it's a pattern. And personally, obviously, I'm pretty sure the phrase is 3 times makes a pattern, or whatever it is. So we'll see how it goes. And again, this isn't a setting stone thing I'm saying, but you know what I should do? I should move to the charts, okay? Because I'm talking a lot. We've nearly spent 10 minutes going through the intro, and at this rate, we'll be here tomorrow. So I'll move on. But final closing remarks. Could the idea of October printing negative, we could lead into November with a pretty negative month. And obviously, we would need a pretty negative month if we're going to come down to 90k, which not only do I believe in, but some other people believe in. I know KB believes in it. I know some people on Twitter, XYZ. I don't know. I don't watch people on YouTube. I don't watch other people. I see tweets. I don't go and purposely look out for things on Twitter, apart from like maybe, CoinGecko. Not CoinGecko. Watcher dot whatever the name is, Guru I think it is. Those are the sort of accounts. I don't really go out and look for people in that regard, especially in crypto. So I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I know what I think, and I know what people in the chat would think. For example, KB, and that is, there's the mesh of people thinking down towards 90k, and this would lead into it pretty healthily. And a very similar potential, we haven't printed yet, a very similar potential for October of 2018 and this year to print very similar, because again, within the range of 3.8%, obviously from 2018, technically down 5.9 right now. Again, the data is changing. I actually don't know how accurate this is to right now. I don't know if it's moving, whatever. So, the closeness to 2018, it could yield the same results in theory. Obviously, we haven't even made a pattern technically. 3 times like a pattern, in my opinion, anyway. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, moving to the charts. So I have this I have this clean, okay, because I'm gonna unhide it in a second, and that's just hurt my eyes. So if it's hurt my eyes, I can't believe, or I can't. I can only imagine what it's done to your guys' eyes. So let me see the chat actually. Do you know from yesterday's quiz who the winners are? Yes. So we have Hidden Agendas, Thrash, and Unique Samper. So the top 3 of last quiz. So if you were there in the chat playing, or if you were watching, the people we saw top 3 in the non-blue colours, the pink, the orange, and the silver colour, whatever, those were the 3 who won. So it is those 3 people. So yeah. Anyway, so this is obviously, I just wanted to kind of like have this showing from basically, you know, having us come up towards where we were. And again, I don't think I didn't stream Tuesday. I had the interview Monday, which I think is actually released. Well, I know it got released early, or because this happens 2 for 2 now, in the sense of we do the In the Trenches series. We have it unlisted on YouTube to show people and obviously said person I interview, and then they go and release the link. And it's unlisted, so we just have to unlist it. So I think it's going to be out there, because I know it got tweeted anyway. So I was busy Monday and didn't do Tuesday, obviously, because then we had Wednesday, and then I'm doing the stream today, obviously. So, you know, I haven't streamed since probably Saturday, I think it would be. So coming up, which is what we talked about. We talked about it was coming upwards during Saturday stream. We have done that. I did talk about some lower numbers on the lower time frame, and so obviously, again, which I made very clear during my last stream, lower time frames isn't really going to be, you know, if I have something blatantly obvious on the higher time frame, why would I even bother looking at the lower time frame? So anyway, we'll go into it. I do want to look at, I want to show the monthly here as well, because I want to see the range we have versus open and close. So you can see here, it is about 6%, 6.27 as of right now. And that's us coming from 114. And this is the thing, it's like, okay, 114, we'll go on to it in a second when we go to the charts. I actually don't know, I can't remember the exact numbers. 114. So basically 114 is basically coming back up to the top end of this area here. So that's kind of where it is. Anyway, so we can see, obviously, very negative here. We have a day and 4 hours. So the chances of us recovering this, well, I've seen stranger things. You know what I mean? So it's not printed, and this is, especially in crypto anyway, it's not. If it's not printed, we've still got a chance. Now, I'm saying this in the sense of, I don't necessarily think, oh, you know, I want it to come all the way up to 140k, you know, bull run this or the other. I've been saying, or I've been wanting for towards 90k. You know, I've been talking about 90k for a while now. So, you know, it's not like I necessarily want it to be a thing where, oh yeah, here we go. I want us to pump and whatnot. I actually don't know why I have not. It makes me sad. It makes me sad when I do this, because I really need to delete this. I really do. I really need to delete this. Yeah, you know what? No. This is my monster. It's like Frankenstein. It's my monster. I need to live with it. So what I should probably draw, which I haven't drawn yet, is actually this. I just want to draw that. I just want to see. I just want to draw that high there. Anyway. So yeah, monthly close. Obviously, we can see what that was. Anyway, going to some lower time frames here. So try and just like avert your eyes a bit, in the sense of not like, oh yeah, hide your eyes away from what I have drawn, just in a sense of just like, you know, walk with me in terms of where, just follow the mouse. I think you guys can see the mouse, yeah. Just follow the mouse, because there's just things you can, don't look at it, all right? Just let it, you know, just follow along. So obviously this is what we've been doing so far. Pretty good. Again, we have, you know, left some bodies on the way down. We are pretty heavily moving downwards here for Bitcoin. But nothing too crazy, I would say. Again, we're on the daily here, so again, daily's obviously going to be a bit louder. Anyway, I want to obviously go to the 4 hour a bit more, a bit closer here to actually see. So, what do we have? Well, we had these all highs, I suppose, was a good area. What I was talking about was this candle here, or this individual candle, this massive down move we had here, which we kind of came back up into. This was the candle. Obviously, we had that resistance here with this old resistance we've used previously, and then we had this top one here, which we've used once before. And that's kind of looks like where we came towards 115. So, you know, in terms of relative to about 115 there, coming up to about 116. 116 and a half-ish area, so roughly in this area, which is what we kind of talked about on Telegram. I didn't really, you know, it wasn't a massive discussion, but in terms of the idea of, okay, well, we have somewhere in this area, somewhere in this relative general area. I think I might have done the highs of it, about 115.3 might have been the, I think I drew to the high as well, maybe, potentially. So in this range, you know, the no-no zone, I think I called it, as a general kind of place to target, if you will. Coming to that area, obviously printing towards the resistance of this previous resistance we've formed I actually should do the high. Again, this is something I'm tossing up for myself anyway. But this candle here, obviously we've talked about the idea of us, we formed this resistance with this candle, came down, came back into this resistance with this low, and then marked out that low for the resistance as we came down. You can see we printed through that low, came with this wick on this individual candle and came down. So obviously this was resistance, which we've seen once before. Again, printing through all this up close, find that resistance. It's going to be an area where, okay, we're going to, confluence, or the idea of confluence, we're going to find the area, within what we've done previously, whether it be old places we've printed through. For example, we have, oh, well, why don't we come up to, 119? Why don't we come to 170? Why don't we come above into here? Well, obviously the idea of confluence being we're going to find the area which has kind of everything merged together. I just hit my mic. I do apologize. So in that idea and in that sense, it would be previous resistances or supports, now resistance or whatever, which are being used on top of the fact of where we are in the market. Obviously, in this case being, this is where resistance is. You can see instead of coming up towards 117, we stopped at that resistance within this sell area. That's kind of the concept anyway. So, using that there, obviously had a massive move down. We've used it once more again here, and now we're having a massive move down. So kind of consistently doing that. I have this low marked out just for the idea of us actually doing it, and we've actually printed down below it, technically. Obviously, I know there's been times where we've done this and it's not necessarily led into super negativity, but however, I don't really care exactly. Oh, well, we technically printed, but we're going upwards. We have a massive move downwards, okay? We have massive move downwards, which we have plenty of potential to find difficulty in. For example, this green candle, which comes up into this candle previous candle here, comes into this candle, prints through it. This will be resistance, and this is probable high chanced area for resistance. That is, in my opinion, anyway. In my opinion. So, I have that there. Obviously, we have this on the way down. We have this purple line. What was the purple line? I think the purple line was the weekly resistance. This is what it was. This was the weekly resistance. So obviously we had this move up, and I know it's messy, and I apologize. And you know what? I'm a horrible person, and there's so many things I need to do, and I haven't done any of them, and all this sort of stuff. One being cleaning up the chart a bit more, but it's like a snowball. It just builds up, and you don't really look at it until you zoom out, and then you look at all the monstrosity you've made. You never really look at it. I'm on the 4 hour here. I'm on the 4 hour. It's like, okay, well, all the things I have on my screen, give or take, are things which I can look at. Maybe this red area, which I actually can't. And this is the thing: you have too many lines on your screen, and then I start forgetting what each line means, and then this is why I'm starting to label the lines, because I'm forgetting what they mean. Anyway. Going back to the weekly, this is what the resistance was, if people have forgotten, just to remind you guys quickly. The idea that we've come above these highs here and then failed to print above them and failed to do a new high. Same thing we did here, although this candle was the one which came above the actual up close to the down close, not this down move here. That's the difference there. So we have this move up which comes above that high, and then we have the print through it into the 13th of October week here, and that low, or this general low area, is going to be the start of that resistance. It can come higher towards the midpoint of 118. Again, the essence of this being a weekly resistance point is a lot stronger there, but we can still mark out the low, and it could still be relatively used. And obviously we can see there, we have kind of used it. We saw a bit of difficulty finally printing through it here, and obviously finally printing through it again. We've seen resistance previously. We tried to get up. We've obviously can see as we're getting closer and closer to go upwards, relative to the idea that we're on the 4 hour here, but it's a weekly resistance point. We're probably going to end up seeing a bit higher into resistance there. But I don't care exactly, and I think this was my kind of opinion of this whole area, especially forming that low, coming from us printing, I think, around about here, coming into maybe, let's say this here. I think this is when we formed it, or somewhere, I don't know where we formed it. It was one of the weeks where we closed, okay? That was, as soon as we kind of did that, or that, the concept of the fact that we printed that, from there it's like, okay, I don't exactly care the pinpoint price of where we stop at. I do care when I'm talking on the stream, I'm talking about where we're going to stop at. Is it going to be, are we going to see previous resistance at 113? We're going to go a bit higher above equilibrium. Because again, this is the thing we did with syrup. And this is something which I talked about, the idea of we haven't done a new high, but we haven't done a new low. We haven't done a new low in this case. We haven't done a new high. So the ball is still in play. So the idea that, and we did this with syrup, and if you remember what happened with syrup, we came up, came down, we were shy of the low by a nilth or whatever, and I was like, I can't believe we missed it. We came all the way back up towards where we found the midpoint equilibrium high, and then we came all the way back down again, and when we finally found that low. So that was the move. And it's okay because you can come in, the idea of this is a wider trend, okay? The high from the extreme low, the extreme high, the extremities. So the idea is, okay, well, you have that low from the high to the low, you come with equilibrium, so you find your resistance somewhere, and then you come past the low in a downtrending scenario. That is, obviously, if you're consolidating it, you might have to trade it differently. But the idea of if you're trending upwards clearly and you're trending downwards clearly, you can relatively try and find equilibriums at least, and trying the general idea that, okay, the best market to be buying or selling in is somewhere above into premium or below into discount is the general idea. Whether that be actually what happens or not is obviously up to interpretation, but we can still look at it. We go, okay, well, we have the high to the low, we came upwards, equilibrium. Okay, we could try and target for that low. We tried to target for that low, obviously coming downwards, we found support and started coming back upwards again. Okay, we then obviously start to come back towards the equilibrium, taking that high with this, obviously finding previous resistance, and then start to come back down again. So, ball still in play, we can still try for it, okay? Coming towards 102. So, I think the most important thing for me is going to be, on the daily time frame, on the 4 hour, it's going to be printing through 102. Is going to be my thing, okay? I think we can, there's checkpoints, for example, on this uptrend we've had relative to like the 4 hour-ish, let's say, coming from the high to the low, the low which swept this, which didn't print, to the high, especially this move here, where we've kind of had this uptrend. Even though if you draw from the lows, this goes lower, we didn't print for it, so that is a-okay. That's a-okay. Okay, doing these moves or whatever the exact areas is going to be, this is still a-okay. But as soon as and this is majority of the straight line. Again, technically there's a low here, so technically printing through this is going to be us moving, but the main one for me is going to be the extremities of the high to the low. Printing through this low is really going to be where it's at. It's really going to be where it's at. And again, even with these from the high to the low, you can go as high as wicking past the previous high, and it's still, the ball is still in play. And I know that might sound like, oh, what's the point of using it then? How are you going to tell? Okay, that's a valid argument, I suppose. Whatever. It depends on. It's a game of consistency. Game of it's not all the time. 7.5 times out of 10, it's come above equilibrium to some area you previously printed and you come down, and it's pretty clockwork. I'm not gonna lie. And then there's going to be scenarios. We saw this with Pro, to be fair, as well. We came from the high. We came from the low all the way up to 38. We came as low as wicking past the low of the range, and we still came back upwards. So that is really where it's at in terms of you can still do those things. So I'm not saying this isn't me. I'm not arguing for 126k. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is just the leniency. The leniency to have with this kind of system. But obviously going back to the actual point here, being printing past this low, okay, and it's not really a thorough print. Again, I think even just considering this move, let alone this whole move, I think it's pretty clear to go through this. So in terms of, I'm not talking about the entire range here, I'm really just talking about kind of what we have here so far, this previous move we've had, okay, in terms of coming through this, like if we draw kind of this going on, like, oh look guys, we're in a range, we've broken through it, we're going to retrace and come down. And yeah, I do think we can retrace. You know what I mean? I do think we can retrace. Yes. That's obviously a thing which can happen. We've just come from 116 down to 106 in the space of 3 days and 16 hours. So I wouldn't be surprised for a cheeky little retracement. I don't think that's too brazen to ask for. But especially coming past an extreme low relative to the range we have here, forming into a scenario of a downtrend now, obviously after printing past lows, potentially printing a lower high, continuing downwards. This could lead us not only towards trying to get down towards this area, but also continuing to some of these lower areas. Now, we do have this rejection block, which we have used previously. I'm not saying this is going to be set in stone support here. I am obviously a bit of a negative Nancy, especially if October prints negative, on the idea that, oh, well, we're going to, the monthly print, if you print negative on October, we come down during November. Obviously, it's not as simple as that, It's not just, some magical, oh, well, we printed negative in October, we're going to do this. Because, again, especially from the fact that the only times we've really printed negative in October is 2014 and 2018. And one of those times, we didn't even go down during November. So it's really not that, set in stone, if you will. But again, we have printed for this low, so that's still realistically kind of the point here, being we've come through this major low. Again, even it looks worse and worse. You go on the 1 hour, massive move up, massive move down. Obviously, it's realistically just the 4-hour move downwards. It's not really that crazy. Printing through is slow technically, so again, we could probably expect to see that print through coming upwards. Now that we've done this lower low here, from where we've printed anyway, from looking at the prints, the actual print here, we have moved lower. So expecting a move upwards could be something we could see. And again, that makes sense. Again, across the market, coming down 7% for Solana, 5% Ethereum, 3% Bitcoin. Is it really going to be a scenario where we're going to see another 4% tomorrow? And again, I don't think it's going to be a scenario where we're going to see maximum retracement. 6% we have to do on Bitcoin over the month if we want to print positive. So, I don't know if we'll do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we'll do that. We maybe could do that. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's out of. I don't think it's out of. The potential. So I think we can do it. Absolutely. We'll see how it goes. But I do think we'll print negative. I think we'll continue to print negative, especially over the month anyway. I think we will print negative. I can see we had this little gap here on the daily. We kind of wicked into it, retraced, printed through it. So we'll probably see, we can see resistances as low as here. But if we want to really look at the range we have going on, we're going to want to see a bit of retracement. I do definitely think 112 is going to be a very interesting area, especially with this up close candle into what we had with this down move. Because again, you had this massive move upwards coming into daily resistance here, having this low into this gap area here, retracing to do a lower high, and then printing through this low with this move here, printing through this low, being a high interest area, retracing back into this area which just printed through this low to start this downtrend, and then printing through it massively with this move here. This was probably going to be an interesting resistance area. We also have this, technically we've printed through this gap. You can see we kind of tried to use it here with this move, and then we printed through it finally. So there's technically resistance in that previous, but more importantly is going to be we do have a gap with this massive move we had here at about 112. So the fact we have this stacked on top of this gap, I do definitely think 112.5 is going to be a good resistance area. And if we look at the range, at least coming above 111.5 is going to be where you want to see on the idea of a more optimum high. Again, it's not perfect. What about this range? From this, okay, well, technically we did that, actually, to be fair. What about this move? What about this one? We came from high to low. Why don't we come above here? Optimality. I don't know if that's a word. I don't know if optimality is not a word. I'm gonna make it a word. Optimality does not mean guarantee. I'm making stuff up. Let's just move on. All right. Pretty past the low. We'll probably see some more resistance if we are stopping here. Obviously, in theory, again, we might not stop here. And obviously, this is what I'm saying. There's no. I could probably look, but I mean, there's no necessary sign here that we've technically started back up into an uptrend. So we can come lower. We can come towards maybe 106, let's say. We do definitely have somewhat of support potentially at this area here. Let's go to the daily quickly. I want to see if anything's going on daily here. No, not really. There's nothing really going on. I mean, there's this previous area here. Obviously, we've already. Oh, that's what it was. It was this high to the low of this one. I don't know why I have the low here. Maybe to print for it, I guess. But oh, yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah, that makes sense. So where's that midpoint actually? Is what I'm gonna say. I don't know why I'm saying this out loud. You know what? I think I need to be more comfortable with silence. I think, like, you know what I mean? Like, on the sense of sometimes I don't have to talk. Sometimes I'm just trying to figure something out and just figure out where the numbers are. You know what I mean? And I don't have to talk because I'm literally just doing this to figure out where the midpoint is, so I can talk about it in a second. So I don't have to tell you what I'm doing. Anyway. So the idea, okay, we have a midpoint there, kind of coming into it. Whatever. We could maybe see support. We could see some support where we are roughly right now. Considering the fact that we've come down quite heavily, we could see some sort of support. We've come past a low. I mean, we don't really have what is there which would stop us. Coming past the low and printing and then coming upwards, that's something. And considering this whole move, apart from maybe here, let's say, there's not really much in this move. So, if we draw that across, you can see we did actually have a move upwards from this kind of period here. We have a gap here. So there is reasons. So, for example, okay, what would I list off in this move? Well, we have the most extreme low. We have some lows here. We potentially have something here, and we have a gap, is what I would say. And obviously, there's going to be previous supports. Maybe like this line here, the previous support. We have this weekly support, which could be something. What else would there be? Maybe something in this price range here could be something as well. So I could probably draw that across just to see, where roughly it's going to be for that. So maybe something there. That's what I would draw out personally. It would be this low, it would potentially be something around these lows, and then it would be that gap. So we have this gap. You can see we did see a bit of response there, continuing down. Obviously, we're in a downtrend here. We want to see that. These lows we didn't really see much. This low, which actually overlaps this gap, we did actually see it come into this area once more, obviously forming these lows again, so wicking past all of this pretty much, and then coming upwards one more time. Again, I'm not expecting this to be a reversal coming back up to 116, but the idea of why are we stopping at each one of these stops? Why do we stop here? Why do we stop in this area? So we did wick down one more. Obviously, this is more of a, we did wick down one more and then come back upwards. Obviously, in this case, potentially there's a small area here. Actually, in this case, what I would say is we have this low, wicking past it with this down move, and then we printed through it here. So for me, this would be a support point here. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to draw the print, the open of it. I'm testing out the opens, okay. So that idea being coming into this area would be support. So there's technically something there with this low. But obviously in this case, where we actually printed was the midpoint of this area. So each and one of these kind of green candles, which formed in this down move, each one of these moves stopped because of something which we printed in the previous price action. So for example, this gap, we can see we came through it here, printed, came up one more time, obviously maybe wicking past this high, coming back into resistance one more time before we came back downwards. What we do here? Well, we had the gap here, obviously coming down and coming back upwards. We then stopped going upwards, we had this gap, we came downwards. What do we have here? We've just printed back through the weekly resistance now, actually using it as resistance, because technically, we don't really print it for anything, because the midpoint would have been, you know, somewhere around here, let's say. We would have had to print through this area, which obviously we wouldn't have done. So we're using this weekly resistance, we have reason to stop there. Obviously coming from the area of support from the previous area we had back here. We're coming downwards. Why do we stop here? Well, obviously we have just come past these lows. That is obviously something we would have marked out here. Let's say we're roughly near the midpoint of this daily support we had back here. So we are at an area of support. Where would we stop? And this is the next question here. Well, we have this gap here. You know, we have that gap here. So obviously I could maybe expect to stop. So on the idea that we might have not seen our max low here, you know, we could see it come into this area and then come down again at 108. But I think for me, it's going to be wherever we see that stopping point. It depends on, are you going to want to long, are you going to long, obviously not financial advice, are you going to long up to potential resistance, or are you going to trade and short off of potential resistance? Is kind of the balance there. So if you're shorting based off potential resistance, like, what can I guarantee? Obviously, nothing is never a guarantee. I will say that for sure. Nothing's ever a guarantee. We obviously can kind of, you know, we can say nothing's ever a guarantee. But what's more of a more likely thing for me to want to trade? The fact that we're going to reverse here. Am I going to want to trade a reversal, which hasn't been printed? We could stop here, yes, and here could be the most likely place we stop. Based on we have support here, we've just taken these lows, we've printed through them. This could be the most potential area, but we have another low, another interesting low here. You know, actual proper low here, and then we have this previous support point and this low. So, you know, would I trade here or would I not trade here? Or am I going to want to wait for it to have a retracement in normal action? You know, we've just done a new low, potential to do a lower high. Are we going to want to see it, you know, do our thing up here and see resistance here? Is what I would more likely trade. So, if anything, I can leave off for Bitcoin. It will be 102.5. What I do want to do quickly, because again, it is 25 minutes. But you know how I am. You know, I spend a long time on the intro. I spend tons of time on Bitcoin, and then I kind of scrape through everything else, and then we end the stream, as always. So I want to quickly just go to what we have going on here. Actually, I need to read the chat. You know, let me read the chat. Let me read the chat. I want to see what people are saying. Let me read the chat. So, 104k, 104 or 100k, 293k. Is that your range? So is it going to be 104 or 190, 104 or 100k, 293? Okay, so is that going to be like a print? Maybe, and then otherwise, this is Mr. AK on Binance Square, I should say. Otherwise, group me. So in terms of 104 prints, is this going to be us going to find our low at 104, and then we're going to go towards 93k? Otherwise, going from here. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you know, there's plenty of things outside of what I can just look at the chart, which could suggest, are we going to continue this into November? Obviously, one being the potential for the monthly print in October to lead into November being negative. There's definitely that. Obviously, we can see how that obviously goes. There's other reasons I've wanted to see this low for a while now. Obviously, you know, I also think for the weekly, I want to see us print through these lows at 107. I want to see that print. I think not only do we have that monthly print, but we have this previous support, or we have this previous area over here, I will say. And again, we didn't print, we wicked down. Obviously, again, this is the thing. It's like, are we going to bounce between where you're printing at versus, you know, what you're going to see when you wick downwards. Obviously, on the lower time frames, we had reason to stop here. But in terms of we have this move down, we then found resistance up here, printing through this candle, coming below all this, you know, back here. So the idea of this potentially being a support point. So drawing that here, you can see we kind of came back into it and then pumped again, okay? And then we did have this candle, which was potential supports, which obviously we didn't really, again, hold. We kind of wicked through. But what I will say about this, all right, especially from the high here, we did print at that high finding support, but obviously this is the weekly. The weekly doesn't really allow you to see what's going on the lower time frames. You know, it's like, oh well, you know, why would I bother trying to trade the lower time frames when the high time frames are, you know, are stronger and they give better chance of something happening or whatever. You know, I think that you need a balance. You know, everything's a balance. You need a balance between high time frame and low time frame. So this move, for example, or some of these little wicks, or these wicks here, relative to the weekly is quite small, but again, these are big movements. So when I say, oh, the difference between where we printed, roughly at the high end of this support versus where we came to, is going to be about 3%, which obviously, I mean, considering how we're moving today, or over this week, you know, maybe it's not that much. But, you know, we did find support there, so it's a balance between, obviously, where you're finding support, where you're not finding support. But anyway, whatever. But for me though, anyway, printing through this, obviously we've already found resistance here, which again we've already talked about it potentially being resistance. This candle, you know, I would want to see us print through the low, so then we could kind of reverse this, and that's going to be about 107.3, which I think was also another number I talked about, which was probably these lows as well. You know, so I do definitely think there's multiple reasons I want to see us print there. So it's either going to be we're coming down in November because of the October print, which on a numerical stance being us printing 6% negative in October, I could see that. But also I think for me, October's print, us being, you know, well technically this weekly print, it'll print later than October's actual prints, but either way, it's relatively within the next 2 to 3, you know, 1 to 2 to 3 days. It will be us printing past this low. If we can print past this low, then obviously that will be a bit of a stronger thing for me, you know, in my opinion, to see, okay, well, if we haven't printed through this low, you know, we're not actually going through supports to resistance now, and that's kind of, you know, I think a key thing for longevity's purpose, or longevity's sake, in terms of us in a bigger downtrend, if you will. It's going to be the printing through supports, you know, and turning them to resistance, if you know, in that relative scope anyway, because again, nothing's ever permanently support, nothing's ever permanently resistance. But it's really going to be when you're starting to convert these into resistance areas and start to actually come down and come off of these areas, is definitely really going to be a good sign, in my opinion, towards us continuing downwards. But yeah, again, we'll see how it goes. Okay, we'll see how it goes. I think I think importantly, especially on the daily, the main low for daily, we did have this high to the low, so technically this is a low on the daily as well, so we would have to print through on the daily potentially as well. We have already printed through this area, so that could potentially be somewhat of a resistance. We also have, again, 112.5 being the main resistance, and technically we already have that formed here as well on the daily with this gap. We also have this gap, which obviously we printed through, so we have kind of this whole area here, which we could potentially focus on at 112.5. So I definitely think we'll see some retracements here, but I think, you know, we are on the roads of downwards, if you will. And then that's pretty much it from Square. That's pretty much it from Square. So let me check the YouTube chat. Please don't say 90k anymore. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just what I have. Okay, it's just my interpretation of what's in front of me. Because obviously, I say, oh, I'm just reading what's in front of me, but I can be wrong. Okay, that's the thing. It's like I can look at something in front of me and be wrong on it, and even though what is in front of me might say one thing, I can just be wrong and say the wrong thing. But so what I will say is my interpretation of what's in front of me. That will cover all bases if I'm wrong. There you go. Anyway, okay, we're laughing. I wouldn't mind 90k, but I remain a bull unless we get daily close through the liquidity gap at 103k. 103 gap being into this area. Is this going to be? And did you mention? Okay, so I don't know if that's like a weekly thing. It could be this one maybe, printing through this area here. And I know when you go on an LG, and I obviously do my research. Obviously, I know what things stand for now. You know, professional. I assume that's being the daily, maybe. Yeah, I assume that being a daily, and I assume that being this. And obviously, the essence of, in the essence of, it's not just a little area; it's actually the entire area. And actually, for some time, I haven't done it in a while. I should probably be looking at, I haven't actually looked at the ranges. I haven't done that in ages. Actually, I should probably see if that still, I should probably still see if that still works. Not, it still works, obviously, but in terms of, I haven't done it in a while. You know what I mean? Like the last down to the last down of the range. I haven't done this in a while. I mean, it's not bad, I guess. But anyway, I think that being this candle, obviously, if you draw the candle of it, I guess, it being this area here. But obviously, if you're talking about the gap itself, obviously that being this range, I would imagine being there, and you want to print for it. I can see that again. Obviously, we technically use that, and this is also something which I'm obviously testing with as well. Obviously being, obviously I know with KB, obviously being the gap versus the entire candle. Obviously the entire candle being, obviously we've clearly never seen even through it here. And obviously with this gap, obviously we haven't seen anywhere through it either. But it being the idea of, okay, well, we can come to these areas multiple times and it's not just a one and done thing. So obviously that's why I'm kind of using some of these these gap areas multiple times over. But yeah, anyway. Let's see. For me, 90k is a good price point to buy. I just wasn't expecting to reach this level. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think because 90k for me, it's obviously I have this drawn out for a while now. It's the ranges move downwards, which is really where it's at for me. Obviously, we've seen us print through this low here, which obviously for me was like, okay, well, we could see something down here at 107, and then you can see not only do we have a print through this low, which we have this high with this low, we wick past this high, failing to print, and then we have a print through that low. So we have this move upwards, move down, print low, come upwards again through this high, and fail to print a new high again. Of both of these highs, actually, and now we're coming down again after us printing through this low and then printing downwards. So we're clearly, especially if we look at this range here, really starting to not really have a great move upwards. We're not really expanding upwards. We're kind of having bigger expansions downwards. We are upwards. So you can see like the retracement. Like what do we have? Big expansion downwards. There's actually a considerable expansion, kind of. And then we have these kind of slow move, and then we did have this move upwards, and then we expanded down faster, small retracement, and now we're starting to move downwards. So you can see these down moves are starting to get a bit bigger. You know what I mean? So I definitely think we are slowing down in terms of this move upwards to kind of stop. And again, I'm comparing this move to I think it was this move here, being this coming past this equilibrium here into a previous area behind us and then coming back upwards again. So the only one we have, we've already used this on the way upwards. So there you go. The only one we have is this glaring area here in between 92k and 86k, and then we have this area with the high, which we could potentially see, because again, obviously we have this move upwards, and then we have this down move past this low, obviously back into this area once more, and then a massive print through. So the idea that this could be a support point once more. So the idea that we can come back to this area and then come upwards off of it, here. So that using that on top of the idea that we have a candle here, which we could potentially come into, is really where it's at for me in terms of why I actually think this is a viable area to find a support point at, especially if we are going to actually see a reversal here downwards. But again, I do agree with the fact that weren't expecting to see it at this time. I think this is what I was saying with when we were on where we are now in terms of. And it's even worse with the weekly in terms of, are we going to see the low here or are we going to go lower? So in the same essence here, like, are we going to see higher or is this the high? That is kind of the only question. I think it's worse in this weekly case because, again, this is Bitcoin's high. Now, we've been moving upwards. This is its high. So in terms of where we're going to stop at, is this the stopping point? Why could we stop here? You really have to go off of it on a basis. Like, you really just have to watch it. And you can't really... there's a magical area. I could look at predictions. Obviously, I've used it, and I do occasionally use it. Obviously, maybe standard deviations. There's certain methods you can use, but it's realistically just in the essence of just trying to figure out the story as you're writing it. You know what I mean? Figure out Bitcoin's story as it's writing it. So whether the reverse be now or whenever was always going to be a question. So I do agree with you on that regard. But I think and this is what I was saying with, do I think the low of Bitcoin right now is here, or do I think it's lower? I could definitely. There's plenty reason of seeing support here, and then there's also plenty reason of us coming down a bit lower towards. I think it was 105, whatever it was. But what I can say for certain is that it looks like there is a stronger support point at 112.5. So that is kind of really what I had to leave you off with. But anyway, this week everyone will be talking about new all-time highs again. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think no matter what market conditions you are, no matter what the market's doing, there will always be people on the extremities of both sides. You know, like a bell curve. There's always be people, no matter what the market's doing, being negative, obviously, KK. There will always be people who, no matter what the market's doing, on both sides. You got James Wynn, for example. No matter what the market's doing, he's always on the opposite side of it. And then you know, I think with James Wynn, I think what he should really do is just constantly short or just constantly long. Just stick to one side. He'll have more chance getting it right just going based on the 50-50 than he would ever doing whatever he's doing. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I don't know what he's doing, but it's not working. That's what I'll say. I mean, obviously, things can work. I mean, some things work 2 out of 10 times, and you can still be profitable 2 out of 10 times if you have appropriate risk management. You know, I mean, it's like, it depends on how tight you get that point. It's like, in that regard, it's either you're gonna have to have a massive reward or a very tiny risk for it to be worthwhile. So maybe he's just got one of those strategies. You know what I mean? I don't know. Whatever. But I mean, yeah, there's always going to be those people. There's always people, oh, well, you know, it's never, you know, oh, well, this hasn't happened before. And what I find really interesting about this scenario now is the people who are those types of people, which is nothing wrong with those sorts of people, where it's like, I think this makes sense. It's like, you know, there is a cyclical, I can never say that word, circular. It's not cyclical, it's circular. Cyclical is the word. I'm mixing 2 words up. That's what it is. Cyclical and circular. I'm trying to say both the words at the same time. Cyclical. Circular. The market is circular. It's starting. You know, the more you say a word, the less it makes sense. The market is circular. I guess. I don't know. It's like a sine wave. You know, it does its thing. I don't know, whatever. It does its thing, and it's consistent with it, you know. And majority of the time, and again, you know, that's the thing with the markets. Like, there's always going to be that off chance of something, not happening or whatever. But you know, with the idea that things move in a 4-year cycle in this case, let's say, obviously with Bitcoin, I think my argument against that would be it's definitely going to be the difference of the current situation we have in the market right now, with everything going on, and not externalities as a sense, but there's definitely things affecting the market we've never seen affect it before right now. So to constantly just apply the same rules which have been existing, let's say, since 2014, whenever people started looking at it in a circular manner, I think is slightly foolish, because I think there's a allowance of variation in the market situation where things can escape its kind of ball it's in, where it's like it's constantly doing the up move in this XYZ month, and then in the XYZ month it's going to move down, or based on the fact that we printed our high in this month, we're going to see us go up towards, you know, November time, whatever. So I think things can still work, but I think to just constantly apply the same reasoning to the market, no matter what is happening and no matter what is being added or removed from the market, I don't really think makes too much sense. So I think that what amazes me, what is interesting to see from my perspective, or not my perspective because mine isn't very, very different, but from my opinion, is the fact that these people who are these sorts of like, oh, well, whenever we've printed in October, we've gone down, or whenever we've not printed positive in October, or whenever we've not printed positive in October, we've gone down, or we've not potentially gone upwards. You know, those sorts of people are the ones who are saying this on Twitter. So we're actually getting those people in the same boat, which is interesting. So we're seeing these people who are very market circular orientated people, like, oh, well, in November we go upwards, or in December we see the high, and then in January it's Santa rally, and in December it's Santa rally, and then we have January depression, and then we have April, we have the second pump, or we dump, and it's like very regimented people, and they're the ones saying, oh, well, in October this, that, the other. So, you know what I mean? There's a bit of consistency there, which is actually quite nice. It's actually a convergence, because whenever I've said anything, and Mike isn't that type of person. He does his own TA, and that's the thing. He does TA. He doesn't just look at cycles. But, you know, in terms of the fundamental of that sort of, and maybe, you know, I think there's definitely times I could do with thinking about that sort of cycle. But he's also cycle orientated, not to an extreme of 100% and nothing else, but he does pay attention to that cycle. And he's saying, well, in October, if we don't print positive, we could go down. And he even said to me last night, we were eating dinner, and he was like, oh, I think the bull run could be over. I'm not saying that, and obviously make sure it comes from the horse's mouth or whatever. I'm not saying that for him. He can say that in his own stream. Obviously, don't. If you think Mike is the be-all end-all of TA, which you could rightfully think so, then make sure you hear that from him, not me, because obviously he's just giving his own opinion in the comfort of his own home. And I'm exposing him. But he's saying it as well, so it's interesting. Anyway, I've got off on a topic. I've got 9 minutes left of the stream. I haven't even looked at Solana. I need to move on. In your opinion, will the market extend until mid-2026 or not? It depends. It's like, okay, what is the market? What is the market? Will the market extend? The market will continue for the rest of human knowledge of life. There's always be something to trade. In terms of the market cycle. Well, what is the market cycle? What should we be doing now? Is what I would say. What my first question to your question would be. If the question is, oh, well, we pump until November, and we'll see all-time highs in November. Well, it's nearly November, so I mean, considering all that's going on, especially with Trump, Mr. Big Mouth over here, would it not be rare to say, oh, well, maybe it's a month early? And the bull runs over, which is what Mike said during dinner. So, So in terms of will the market extend, I think it depends on what you say. It depends on what you mean by that. I think if you mean uptrend market, we're supposed to be going down relatively soon anyway. So I don't really think it's too close of a difficulty to think of the idea that we could come down right now anyway. I'm not saying right now, in terms of the next 4 hours, but in terms of the market cycle being, whatnot, in terms of it being extended towards 2026, and maybe have a late pump or whatever. I mean, potentially. I think for me to answer that question, it would be me, instead of looking at the cycle, it would be me answering the actual, what I have on the screen, what is the actual market, not just relative guess framework of when the market should see its high and when a relative framework for when the market should see its low. I think for me that would be looking at the chart, and what I have on the chart is going to be we will get towards this area 90ish K by whenever we do, and then we'll start to go up again. So however long that takes is what in my answer what will be. So in terms of that's really all. I guess so. Everything seems to be happening later than we expected. Well, what are we expecting? You know what I mean? Like, are we expecting? When do we expect Bitcoin to go down? Now? When do we expect Bitcoin? Well, what have you been expecting? Is what I would say. No, mate. The whole candle is the liquidity gap. Candle liquidity gap is the gap. Yeah. Bring on up November. Yeah. It's supposed to be October, November, up December. I don't know. You know what they're going to start doing? They're going to start getting the Chinese calendars. Oh, it's the year of the rooster, guys. We're going to go up in the year of the rooster. And that's what it's going to start being now. We're only here for the tech. Okay. I'm raging on Binance. What's going on Binance? Let me see. There's actually some words. Let me have a look. Why Bitcoin went back from a fixed number 106.2. I don't know what you mean. I'm trying to encapsulate the words you've said to me and make sense of them. Is that being right now? Or, still waiting. When you give some good stuff, we'll mark it up. Leave. And that's why I'm not trust your giveaway word is truth. I'm a balanced listener. I'm not a fool. Yeah, okay. Sure. Read our profile. What does it go? Yeah. You know what? Don't come back. Leave and don't come back is what I'll say. You know what? I don't care. We don't care about you. All right. That's what I'll say. You're one of many. Just leave. All right. I can't be asked with people like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, what about the giveaway? Okay. Shut up. Okay. This is a chart stream. All right. This isn't a giveaway stream. Okay. And if you're talking about previous streams, when you're looking for a giveaway or whatever, I also don't care. That's my answer. I also don't care. I'm leaving. I'm ready to answer. I can understand why. I need to move on. I have 4 minutes left. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can do this in 4 minutes. All right. What's Ethereum doing? And best part is I've looked at Bitcoin. I haven't looked at Ethereum, Solana, Syrup, CRO. So see how it goes. What are we doing? Let's see. Okay, so we have these areas we've looked at previously. What are we doing? We have this area we've used previously, which obviously we're doing our thing. I have something. I have this marked out. I don't know why. What is this line? I don't know what this is. I actually don't know what it is. To kind of put Oracle in a cycle of words. Don't throw these words at me. I'm going to start getting confused again. So we've talked about all this. Okay, we've talked about all this. We had this area. I think Saturday was here. I'm going to talk about that wick. I had something there. I remember talking about on the 1 hour. I was looking at lower time frames. Again, this is what I said last stream. Was basically I was looking at the 1 hour just to see what we had. We had something, but again, the main focus for me is really daily in the 4 hour when it comes to these streams, and that was definitely going to be. Well, we've not really done a printed eight. We have move up, move down. I don't really care about how low our high was. We haven't done that new low. So all I can really talk about is us doing a new high, which is us going to be coming past 4,100. It's going to be us finding that resistance. So clearly we did that here. Obviously we had previous areas beforehand with different resistances. We've had previous gaps. We came to that rough area. We've come to the midpoint of this breaker block we have. We've come to the top end of this portion block. We've used these areas multiple times over. And if I'm going to look at us coming past the high in terms of doing continuing an uptrend, then it's realistically going to be okay. Where is there above here? Potentially something in this wick. Potentially, we have previous gap areas which could be used again as resistance. Yes, we have the massive midpoint of this breaker block, and then obviously we have the main resistance, which basically sits at the exact same area. That's what I would be talking about. Lo and behold, where have we come to? Roughly about 4,200 being that resistance area of the portion block and the main gap we have, or the main resistance we have. So coming from that area, we've come down. Obviously, we had the weekly order block. Same thing we did with Bitcoin here, where we've kind of come down, found resistance at it again, come down, and we're back in this area once more, seeing this kind of support area as a whole. Pretty much. And obviously this is an order block, so that means this candle is the support, give or take. So in this area, obviously the stopping point of this gap is about here. So we're still in this area, but obviously we've been holding here for quite a while. I'm not saying this is guaranteed support, but it's mainly this 3,700 area is seemingly what the consistent area is for me. But same thing with Bitcoin, we've printed through that low. So what am I going to be saying? What do you think I'm going to be saying? People at home, what do you think I'm going to be saying? I'm going to be saying we're going to find that, if this is the low, in theory, not financial advice, of this range anyway, printing through this low, we're going to be us. I've got a minute and 45 left. Okay, it's going to be us coming back upwards to find a high. So let's just do some real quick look. So anything above this, it's going to be, I reckon, about here. Obviously, again, this is exactly where it was for Bitcoin. We don't really have much here. We could definitely see resistance here. Same with Bitcoin was. We could see resistance here, come down one more time. I could definitely see that, especially the fact that Bitcoin and Ethereum all kind of have these equal lows here, or these kind of two printed lows. I could definitely see it. This maybe not being the guaranteed low here, but I do think, regardless of where we see that low, I do want to see us come back upwards again towards finding a point here. We could potentially see something within this candle. We don't really have much of a clear resistance printed on this side of the curve when it comes to Ethereum, as we did with Bitcoin. What do we have? We have this gap getting printed through. You can see we came down, tried to use it again, still printed through it here, wicked into it. So we do have this general area as a focus here. Where is the range again? Let me have a little look. So yeah, we do have this up close into this gap and then move down. So we do have this as a focus here. This is a focus. You can see we've kind of come back into this area already once before. If I draw, you can see we've formed this. You can see we've already come back into it. We wicked onto that bottom end of this as well. Regardless, we have resistance in this area. We don't really have a gap per se, and then we have this gap. So I could definitely see it come towards about 4,000, 4,000 area, 4,050. We do have this previous area as well to focus on. I'm just going to draw the low of it here, and then just have this general area at about $4,000, what I'd say. So I do definitely think Ethereum could see that high move, obviously dependent on where we see that low. Again, we also have, not only do we have these kind of equal lows here, we are on par with this previous low here, 17th of October with this low. So I could definitely see, I wouldn't be surprised if we move down one more time. So what I will leave it off with, in terms of where's the guaranteed low going to be, of this, well, I'd have to watch with if we're reversing on a lower time frame. You know what I mean? Because apart from the concept of us being at previous support points, there's not really much else for that to say, unless we're going past previous lows. So yeah, that's what I'd say for $4,000. And we also have previous weekly resistance here, which obviously we've used previously. Okay, the timer is off. I'm going to go to Solana and see what we have on Solana. So we came to, I think this was the weekly resistance. Again, we have this candle here, which we talked about quite a while ago as resistance. You can see we've kind of been on our way upwards to be using it. If we go back, I'm going to make this not that big. So go back to the 4 hour here, daily, whatever. You can see we're actually printing really nicely. It was actually really nice being used there, but whatever. Kind of coming to resistance here. We also had this previous resistance at the midpoint here being used, regardless, you know, XYZ place. We had this little gap, which we can see we kind of filled there as well. Pretty much all to say about that. Finding a point of resistance and then finally reversing, coming down. In terms of main low, Solana hasn't actually printed past this main low here. We have this purple line being the midpoint of a previous daily support here, which obviously we've kind of stayed at to and fro a bit. Yeah, we've kind of slowly coming upwards here. We haven't done that low yet. We have massive gaps, especially in this move here. Obviously, we're down 6%, especially in relative to just these last candles. It's about 9% move down from the high to low extremes. So what I will say about this is you can see Solana has been ranging up and downwards, finding its highs above equilibrium. So I can actually draw this high to low at this area. I'm not saying we do a guaranteed, here, because again, we are technically in this, relative to this move, we are in this downtrend. We have seen us come into these kind of gap areas, but I do definitely think we could probably come up into these areas here. What I will say is, we've probably got a system of, we have these highs here, for example, coming down, and we have a series of resistances. You can see the open of this up move moving down, printing through it. You can see we found resistance here again, and you can see we came back upwards and found resistance again, obviously within this range. So within this range you found resistance, so each and every one of these being used as resistance will be used on the way downwards. So the best we can do is kind of look at that high end here. I probably should do the open, because obviously I'm trying out the open, which is about $192. So but I could probably expect it to fill towards 190, going up to about 192. But again, technically on the wider range of things, we haven't printed that major low as opposed to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So until we do that, you know, we're still going to kind of be in that scenario of, well, actually, you know, even though, you know, in terms of an uptrend, what really matters is that low. In a downtrend, what really matters are those highs. So, you know, and obviously case in point here, let's say, for example, we have this high move, we have this low, we have this high. We will start to move down. In this case, all I can see right now is like, okay, you know, we've done a lower high here. We haven't done a new high. We could watch out for this low to find a print through that low for a downtrend. We didn't do that. You know, we didn't do that. And then we came up with higher than this high. So it's really the lows where it matters. If you're looking just on a structure of uptrend or downtrend, it's going to be those lows. So from there, obviously, we haven't done that yet. So I don't care if we, you know, have reversed here. Because again, even in these move downwards where we do these extreme lows, you know, technically we printed through this low in this move. So why have we not gone continue downwards? Well, because we're not in that downtrend. The main move are the extremes from the highs to lows. And again, in an uptrend, what matters most are going to be these lows. And if we don't print through these lows at 177, we're not going to be in that main downtrend. So I could talk about these resistances. And again, I think it's a toss-up between reason to stop going down, reason to stop going upwards. And, you know, we could see a technical reason for rejection blocks, obviously, which I have obviously talked about previously here. We don't really have a major gap or anything. It's realistically just the wicks, all right? And then we've kind of just stopped low here for Solana. So I think until we do that, you know, is really where it's going to be for structurally, if we're going to go upwards or go downwards. But I think in terms of even if we don't have that low yet, I still definitely think we can see a low here, because especially within this move, which has caused this, we are in a downtrend. So I don't really care about the main move we have. I care about this move, and obviously clearly we are in this move downwards. Obviously, resulting in this, we have lower highs and lower lows, and in this case, we have this massive low here. I expect it to produce a lower high. Even if this main moves an uptrend, I'm talking about this range here, and I do definitely think we can see that lower high before we continue downwards. So if any of this move is going to continue onwards, it's going to be this move. Because again, this is massive. This is massive here. I'm not saying we can't reverse this or anything of the, you know, I'm not saying we can't reverse this or whatnot. Because again, what about this? What about this gap? Well, obviously in this case, we came to previous resistance here and then came down. So it's all about context. And in this case, context, we haven't really come to a major point of support. Again, we are at this midpoint, so technically we are at some form of support. But, you know what I mean? This is most recently printed. I do definitely think we could see this move downwards. So anyway, we'll see how it goes, obviously. But about 192 is what I could probably muster. About 192, 193, coming up to kind of come above this 190 here. I mean, we could probably print below into 190 area, but I think the high point would probably be about 193. I think we can go a bit higher than that. Anyway, syrup. Wrong chart. Okay, it's 10:09. I will finish quickly. So we talked about us coming from this low, coming upwards. We talked about it on about Saturday time. I have a low there. I have a thing there apparently. We're coming upwards. The thing for me though, again, obviously, as I talked about in the intro, which obviously I know was about 4 weeks ago. I talked in the intro because I do these streams for so long. Talked about the fact that we had this previous resistance here and this gap, and we had these highs and whatnot, and we haven't actually done that new high. We have done this previously. Syrup of all isn't one to be shy about this. You know what I mean? Coming from a high to a low and not taking that low, but still eventually taking it, we can still do that move. So in the sense that, okay, if we did come down where we couldn't go upwards again. And obviously, for me, with Maple, we've been in this move upwards. You know, we've had this move, you know, where we've kind of come upwards, we've come downwards to find us come below this point, finding a low where we want to kind of come back upwards again, which is really where it's been main for me with Syrup. You know, this is kind of what we've really had, which I've been talking about for a while now for Syrup. So in terms of relative to what we have, we came to about that midpoint. You can see we've printed through this gap. This will be resistance, this gap. We've printed for it. This will be resistance. So in terms of relative from that low to the high, actually no, from the high to the low it will probably be. Not saying this is the low of it, but we can see anywhere above here is going to be resistant, you know, into about 42 cents at least. And you can see these at least overlap here, where you can see we had this gap where we kind of used it, came upwards, printed through it, and these kind of overlap here. We will see retracing probably towards 42 cents. For this as well, I think probably go to the 1 hour here to try and find some form of resistance here. Again, especially for the fact that this is technically a order block. We've seen this previously. We found resistance and printed through it. These two candles upwards and then printing through it, especially from the open of these up close, technically should be around about here, which is actually the top end of both this gap at 42.3 and this gap at 42.3. So I definitely think we could see a bit of retracement for this towards 42 whatever, but yeah, obviously we'll see how that goes. So even though I do think, you know, we have been in this move upwards and I would want to see it come towards this high, relative to what we've moved here, you know, we could potentially see some form of resistance. But again, you know, we haven't really been in a downtrend. What I will say is, though, even though we might see difficulty there, we haven't printed through main lows or anything like that for Syrup. So I don't think all is bad. We have definitely done a high here. We've definitely done a pretty extreme high, especially coming from the fact that all these are very, you know, very normal move upwards. You know, pretty expansive, small retracements, very expansive. And then the difference between these sorts of moves here versus this move, or this move anyway, is the fact that we've come to resistance point here, stopping point, and then it's actually started in the opposite direction. Well, now we're starting to expand downwards with big candles, and now we're starting to retrace slowly on the upside. So it could start the move downwards, even though we haven't technically printed through lows. You know, I kind of have to give it a bit of a precursor. Anyway, going to CRO. What do we have? Let's see. So we had this previous 4-hour gap I've talked about previously. Here we came up to it again. Again, the idea of this being a range, you know, I'm still tossing with the idea of it actually being worthwhile, me talking about it. And obviously we had these two up close coming into this gap and then printing through it. This was resistance here. So anything in this range of these two candles here, and obviously into that gap here. So you can see we did, you know, wick into it, but I think this one was very interesting because again, this was within 15 minutes, us coming upwards and then coming right back down. So I'm actually very interested to see if anything occurred in the external market for CRO to cause such a rapid move like that, considering we haven't really done much of anything. We kind of wicked past these lows and then failed to print. So again, we're going to be targeting that high as we've taken this internal area. So I suppose it made sense we came past this high, especially for the fact that we've been in an uptrend, but we had a very extreme move up here for CRO. But regardless, doesn't matter. We had a massive move down in any sense, so it doesn't really matter. We had a massive move down here, starting this kind of whole trend downwards. What is this black line? Actually, don't know. There's probably nothing. On the 4 hour, what are we doing? Well, again, extreme lows anyway. Extreme low here, all being this move upwards. Even cleaner on CRO anyway. You know, especially it being extreme low, extreme high, extreme low, extreme high. We are doing this low similar to Solana. We haven't done that new low yet. So from all I can be concerned about until we get past 1364 and print past it, it's not, you know, that bad. But again, considering what we have on Bitcoin and Ethereum, we could be potentially going downwards. However, if Bitcoin and Ethereum relatively soon could be going upwards, then maybe that could mean upwards for the market. Maybe that could mean, it might not be that bad for Solana and CRO. But if we're printing negative in October, and the idea is we want to come towards these extreme lows on the weekly for Bitcoin and Ethereum or whatever, I would expect that to be kind of a global thing across the board if it's going to be on the high time frame. It doesn't have to be, but I feel more comfortable saying that sort of stuff. So, even though we might go up over the next day, maybe in tomorrow we might go upwards again, but I think longer term, depending on what we're doing right now, it could mean downtrend regardless. Either way, for CRO, we do have this whole area, this massive move upwards coming into previous higher resistance here, and then printing right through it here with this down move here. This is definitely going to be a gap, and not only is it a gap, this is also probably going to be some sort of resistance again. Up close candles coming into resistance and then reversing with this print through. We should be focusing on that low as a resistance area. So you can see we kind of wicked into it there. We can see we kind of printed through it, and then until then we didn't see any higher. You can see we kind of came upwards. We hit that wick there. We hit that wick there. We didn't see any higher than this area here. Also importantly for this as well, we could potentially argue that we had this candle moving upwards, getting printed through the body, which could potentially be resistance, but it doesn't matter. Whatever the exact price is, that low will probably be resistance at about 15 cents. But with that, we also have the gap here. So even if we're coming into this candle as a resistance area, we still have this inverted area about 15.2. And if we do continue downwards, which we could potentially do, coming from the high to the low, that area is still in chance to happen at about 15.5 cents. So we do have resistance there as potential, and especially considering this range, similar to how I did with Solana. So, considering this range only, we are starting to move downwards. Okay, but again, it's all kind of relative, and the relative for the wider range is going to be that we're in this uptrend. So, it's a bit of a toss up. But I think especially for Bitcoin and Ethereum, we have printed those lows. Solana we haven't done so, but we are going down a lot faster percentage wise than anything else realistically. So I do think out of everything, I think Solana could be considering that down move, especially considering how big of a print downwards we had very recently with Solana. I think with CRO as well. I think across the board we probably will be expecting this move downwards, and I definitely think with CRO we would want to kind of see this as well. I think from there though, it's kind of, we did see we had this rest of this gap which we've now printed through and seen a bit of resistance in that midpoint. So even that low potentially being a resistance. I think this is a weekly area though, is what I'll say. We kind of seen that low at 16.3 kind of being used there, about the 16.3, 16.7 range here for that high. But I think again, I do think considerable down, continuous for CRO. I do still think we are down, but there is still the reason that we haven't printed that low yet. So there is that to say. But I think if we do proceed to go back upwards, we could potentially see resistance here at 15.5, and that might lead into us actually starting that move downwards, even though we might not have continuously printed that low. Because again, we're going to need to see consistent resistance to allow for price to push lower and lower to then finally sort of print past that low. So it's like chicken and egg. It's like, okay, I might not necessarily have seen this low get printed. However, we do have considerable resistance in what we've printed here, which could lead into printing past this low. So it's like, the egg should be the wider trend, but the chicken. Hold on, the egg. Well, I suppose it depends. Did the egg come first or the chicken? I'm going to end the stream. I need to end the stream. Okay, I need to end the stream. Whatever. We have resistance. I think we could see resistance here. Okay, 15.6. Okay, coming towards 15.5. All right, let's just end it there. All right. By the time I come back on Saturday, this probably hasn't happened yet, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway. Let me see what Square's saying. Let me see what YouTube's saying, and then I can stream. Lows are high, but not highs are all. Lows are high, but not all highs are. Lows are high, but not highs are all high. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that was probably on the topic of me talking about the lows are most important. I'd probably I think that's referring to the topic of me saying in an uptrend, highs or lows are very important. I think obviously as we saw with Solana, as we saw with Bitcoin, let's say, in this case, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about. Okay, we have this main low area. Let's say that this was the low. Okay, we have that low area. Let's say this low. We then came upwards to produce a high. Okay, this is the range we have, and then we came down. So the expectancy is, okay, we should see that low, and then we should see us come past that high in an uptrend, right? That's the expectancy. However, we didn't do that. So logically, it should be, we've done a lower high. We should do a lower low, and in a lot of cases that happens. You do that. You do the high, the low. You do a lower high. You do a lower low, and that's it. Really, it's over. But it's not confirmed. I mean, this might be. I don't think this is an opinion. This is kind of, I think, a widely expected thing, in the sense of it hasn't confirmed that downtrend until you're printing past the main lows, which has formed this move upwards. Until if price did this and printed past that low, that is concise confirmation that is it. But we haven't done that. And again, I've experienced this firsthand with syrup. We missed that low. And I waited for like a month or whatever it was, or like a few weeks, whatever it was, to go all the way back up and then all the way back down just to see the low and then finally produce the actual start of the downtrend. So even though we didn't print past that low, we didn't print past any major highs, and then we continue back downwards. So it's really where it is. So in terms of, I agree, that is a good assessment of lows are high, but not all highs have to be high. Absolutely. Just mean buyers are stronger, and retracement. In terms of relative to like this move versus, or like this move versus this move. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, potentially. I think it depends on where the low was. It depends on where we came to, especially if like this is kind of like the difference between this and this. It's like these lows are relatively close, but what we had was a lot larger, you know? And I think, I mean, it depends on how you look at the charts, I think, could, you know, orchestrate how you think. So it depends on, okay, one of the philosophies I would potentially have is you go upwards until you have reason to stop going upwards. So, for example, on the idea of, okay, well, we had this low end here as resistance, which is a valid reason to stop going upwards. So that is like the limit of where I'd say the minimum to stop going. Because again, we didn't really have order block, we didn't have a gap in any of this. So the minimum low point I would expect is going to be this area, the start of this area, you know. And we did finally see resistance there. And then we came down a bit higher. Okay, we did do a higher low, so we want to do a higher high, obviously, in theory, again, obviously, whatever. So we started coming upwards. And then we've kind of seen this in this uptrend. This didn't cause us to go downwards, so we've continued back upwards. So I think relative to these lows, I suppose it could be an argument that buyers are stronger in this case on this retracement back upwards. I mean, you can see with the candles, like these massive gaps get formed. Buyers are clearly stronger, technically. I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure this makes. I mean, if it doesn't make sense, then I guess I'm an idiot. But yeah, I can see that. Anyway, I'm yapping about different questions. Okay, I need to end it. Okay, I'm 22 minutes over 10. I don't know why I bother. Okay, I should just give myself an hour and 15. Main question is, main question here, is there still time for a bull run, or we keep our bags for the next cycle? In the bull run, in terms of, I mean, whenever I think of bull run, I think of the wider market trend. I think if it's on the in the sense of us running back up to do a new all-time high, I think it depends. For me, it'd be, what I would do would be, okay, I'm going to show you what I have on my chart, and you tell me how long this is going to take. Would be kind of what I would assess it as, in the sense of, okay, we could go off previous action, like, okay, well, we did the high, we did the low, we did that high, and coming from the max high to the max low of this, it took, 77 days. So, okay, we have the high to low, we didn't do it here, so now max high to max low, 77 days. This is going to be us leading into about December time, so nearing towards New Year. You know what I mean? So, or into, November time. Well, I think it'd be November time, wouldn't it? It'd be November time. So in terms of, is there still time for a bull run? Well, for me, it'd be, and this, I might be wrong. I might be wrong here. You know what I mean? So do take it a pinch of salt in terms of, I might be wrong on the opinion of people who are solely strict to the idea of market cycles. Like, oh, well, you can't pump during May or whatever. We dump during May, or, oh, we'll go off of Bitcoin cycle. What was it actually? BTC, CoinGlass, monthly. Oh no, I don't know if it was. I think it was this. Yeah. So it's like, oh well, well, what about March? We go down, or September we go down, or whatever. It's like, well, early New Year. I think it's like, oh well, I mean, it's pretty, okay. You know what? Now I'm looking at this. The 1 month which is the most consistently positive is October. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was one of those months where it's negative. So what I was saying again on the idea of March. If I'm looking at this, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So March and September are kind of actually no, hold on. So March, October, or March, September, December, kind of the consistent months of the least positive months, if you will. And March was very negative in this case. We did have some positivity, and it depends on should you take a weighted bias or should you take it at face value? So, for example, should we take more bias on the later movements of what we have here versus 2014? So, 2025, the most recent March is what we should be looking at versus 2014. But obviously, if it's a 4-year cycle, it should be every 4 years. Obviously, that's different. Anyway, so for that would be okay. So for March to go upwards, it's and this thing is like each month has its times to go upwards and has times to go downwards. Like each time frame has respective times. So for example, like what about 2023? February was like a dull. So January and March went upwards, even though it's supposed to be Santa Rally, January depression, whatever. But then there's times in 2020. I mean, to be fair, 2020 might not be the best month to really be looking at this. Might be the best month. 2014, or 2025, for example, February and March were pretty negative. So it's like you can have equal parts of February and March being really positive, and equal parts of February and March being really negative. So I think it's we went 2024, we went up 43% in February. Obviously, this might be certain reasons, but I'll just look at it face value here. So, in the idea that during the rest of this year, we can go down towards 90k, and then in the start of, let's just say the start of next year, let's just round it off. In the start of next year, we start to go upwards and have really positive months. It's not like it's never happened before. 2023. Or look, we had 4 straight months of positivity. Obviously, albeit February not really being that positive. But 22%, 2023, and then we had 39%, and we had 2.8 in April. In May only had 6.9, and then back in June 12%. So I think I think we're capable of ending off the year into negativity and having everyone think it's over, and then leading into next year with positivity. Just like how there's been times where you've entered into 2014 with a 450% move up in November, and then and a tiny bit move upwards. Obviously, you had tiny bit move upwards during February or January, sorry, and then the rest of it has been negative into February, March, and April. So yeah, I think there's still time. I mean, but it depends on how long it takes. I think during into next year it can go upwards. And again, I wouldn't want to say, oh yeah, not financial advice, but sell this, that, the other, sell it, because it's like, obviously, what if it doesn't go down? What if it goes up because you missed out? So it's like, it's always, obviously, if you've got the finance for it, it's always better to just hold and accumulate and hold and accumulate and just keep on going. But if we can see it consistently go down, and you over a longer period of time get out, and we actually do see this move during November and December, I think it could lead into next year being positive, because it's happened before, happen again. I don't think it's out of the ordinary to say. So that's what I would leave it off with. Thank you. 21% long. I guess they're all stuck. Is that in terms of the relative to futures, or is that in terms of whatnot? In terms of right now, everyone's long. But in terms of futures, always on the spot. 71% long. I guess they're all stuck. I think you're talking about right now in terms of everyone is still 70% long. Everyone is still stuck. I mean, yeah. Again, I could be wrong. Not financial advice. Again, obviously, I say this quite often. I think there's people out there who are blindly confident in what they say, which is fine, because when they're right, they're right. But when they're wrong, it hurts them. It's like, I think you shouldn't undermine yourself. You shouldn't expect yourself to never get anything right. But it's always safer to have expectancy of things can just not go right and account for it, because if you're blindly trading and there's no stop loss, then it's like it's, you know what I mean, like you get it wrong and that's all gone, unless you're someone who just tries to trade something on a new platform and doesn't actually know how to open a stop loss, and then loses all their trades and ruins and blows it all up because they don't know how to stop loss. Like a friend. I know a friend. Asking for a friend. So futures apart. Okay, well, what I'll do, Mr. AK, is what I can do. I'll look at it on Saturday, because this has been the worst stream for me in terms of sticking to the time frame, because it's an hour and a half. Now, I did start the stream about 10 minutes early for the intro, so we have to take that into account. So even then, though, it's been about hour 25. It's not great. It's really been not great for time allotment. So again, I apologize. I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible streamer, but whatever. We've had a good talk, I suppose. But thank you, people. sticking out to the end. You know, people in Binance. Thank you guys. You know, Mr. AK. Pretty much especially Mr. AK actually, because some people have been gone. But thank you for sticking here. You were here pretty much at the start. I'm pretty sure here at the end. So thank you for watching the stream. Obviously, people on YouTube: Tariq, Mags, KB, Hidden Agendas, Kishan. I haven't seen Kishan message in a while. He might be gone, but thank you obviously for him joining. Obviously, Mike was here as well. So thank you all of you for being here and watching the stream. It's a long one. Okay. So the interviews. I think I've got another one Monday. Okay. I want to get them out of the way because I streamed the Monday, and it's like it just takes it. And I want to do this stream, okay? Because it's like I stream Saturday, and then I want to do the Monday, and I want to do the thing with KB. And the longer I leave it, and this is not down to anyone but me, and it is 100% my fault. And I want to have a gap towards Saturday going to Monday where we can leave it. And we can maybe talk about, obviously we can talk about the week open, whatever. But it's like if I do the thing on Monday, and I miss Monday, I want to cover the market. You know what I mean? So it's like if I go from Saturday, and you know what, I should probably do it Saturday. Obviously it depends on when KB wants to do it as well. I should probably do it Saturday. But it's like if I go from Saturday to Thursday, and I've missed the stream. Because I'm doing, obviously, in trenches, and I'm doing another one on Monday, I should probably just aim to try to do this Saturday. I'm not going to lie. Because we have covered something at least today. So I should probably maybe do this Saturday. Yeah. It's broken it up in a way which is a bit, not annoying, but obviously I don't do that many streams anyway in terms of, okay, I'll do Monday, I'll do Thursday, I'll do Saturday. So it's like it's not like I do it every day. Well, if I did it every day, I wouldn't mind, missing on Monday. But it's kind of like a thing where I should probably just do it Tuesday. You know what? I should just do it Tuesday. That's actually something a lot better. I should probably just do it for Tuesday because then I can have that Saturday, and then we can have it feeding into next week Tuesday. I'm talking to myself here. Let's just end. I'm just going to stream. Thank you, all of you, Binance, YouTube. Thank you. I'll be back Saturday. Obviously, I'll be in Telegram if anything's happening. You know what? I probably will. Obviously, I was in Telegram for when we were talking about us coming up towards 100, and I don't remember what price it was exactly, 116, whatever it was. So if anything like that happens again in terms of moving down, I'll probably try and post again like we did. But other than that, again, like I said, I'll be Saturday. And if anything else I have to overtly shill would be the WAM interviews probably out there. I think it's quite long. It's an hour and 20, but we do go over some things. So if you are interested in WAM, or if you don't really know what it is and you want to be interested in it, whatever, it was definitely a good conversation or a good interview with the guys over at WAM. So yeah, if you don't want to go watch that, in the meantime, while you wait for me for Saturday, then you can do. So anyway, I'm keeping you guys. Thank you. I'll see you guys next time. We'll give it a watch. Again, you don't have to watch it. I'm just, it's saying it's out there if you want to watch it. If you know of anything about WAM and you're interested in what they think and some of the questions, then you can go watch it if you want to. So, thank you, all of you. I'll again obviously be back Saturday. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great Friday. Obviously, it's Friday time. You know what I mean? Near to the weekend, whatnot. You know what I mean? People off work weekend. You can go enjoy your lives. And you can enjoy life on Saturday by watching my stream. So I'll be back. Thank you. I've kept you guys. I've anything else to say. Okay. I need to end this gracefully. Okay. I never have a graceful. I don't have that much of a graceful intro, and I never have a graceful outro. So let's just let it down. Let it thump and let it down. Thank you. Goodbye.